Hey, Screen Teamers, what's going on? I hope you are having a great Saturday evening. My name is Chris, and of course, it's that time again. It's time to do a little bit of movie reviews. And of course, this particular weekend, we are all about Halloween, all right? We're all about horror movies here. Well, some of us are. I'm not. I'm a big grouch when it comes to Halloween, but we've got several members
you've never
here.
experienced Halloween properly. That's all.
You know what? I don't want to experience Halloween properly. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Child's Play, the TV series.
No, man, no. And the movies you have for us tonight, I'm not down with, okay, there, guy. You got a Freddy Krueger film. No, thank you. You got a Nun one. No, thank you. The only one I'm interested in is the remake or it's the new Halloween movie. It's not a remake. It's a sequel. I don't know what it is, but we're going to find out later on in the show.
Honestly, when I tell you the storyline, you're going to get real confused.
Yes, I'm already confused. Already. So we're going to delve into Halloween. Guy is a huge Halloween fan. He loves horror films. I don't know why, but he just does.
I was raised on horror films.
There you go, man. It's
and it never causes a problem. Forget people saying you shouldn't do that. I was raised on horror, and I turned out just fine. Don't say a word.
The first movie we're going to review is called Nightmare on Elm Street. This was a movie back from the early 1980s.
1984.
And, Guy, this features the cinematic debut of Freddy Krueger.
Mm-hmm.
This guy gave me nightmares ever since I was 4 years old, and he continues to give me nightmares to this day. Guy, before we get into the movie, why is Freddy Krueger, why is he so iconic? What makes him such an iconic horror character?
A couple reasons. One, he's one of the few that talks.
That's a good point.
He banters. He actually has one-liners. He's what's known as a psychosexual clown.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go into anything, for those people out there who go, well, the first one was scary, the others went goofy. Really? He laughed at you while he was cutting off his own fingers with green ooze coming out. He was silly even then. He's always been silly. He toys. He enjoys the thrill of the hunt. The toying is part of what the pleasure is for him.
Sure.
But honestly, what really makes him stand out is pretty much the same as with Michael and Jason. He's pure Americana. I mean, mom, dad, apple pie, baseball, American flag, Freddy Krueger, Americana. I'm not even joking.
No, I mean, you make good points, man.
It truly is. And what's funny is, with the original film, that because of a scandal that was going on at the time of teachers sleeping with students, they kind of took the pedophilic aspect of him and very underplayed it and made it very subtext.
Sure.
Whereas the remake, which we talked about when we did the countdown, it kind of brought it to the forefront. But I prefer it as subtext, where it doesn't explicitly say it, but with everything going on, you kind of know that's what he's doing.
Sure.
But I find it funny that type of character, by the end of the 80s, 89, 90, they were making dolls of him for children to sleep with.
Yeah, no thank you.
I owned one.
I'm not surprised by that, Guy.
I was 10 years old. I had a Freddy doll. It was the greatest thing I ever had as a kid. I loved it.
Here's the difference, man. Guy's a 10-year-old is like, oh, la, 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 playing with his Freddy Krueger doll. Chris, as a 10-year-old, there's a
is
Freddy
scared
Krueger
of his own
doll.
shadow and a bunny.
There's a yeah, exactly, man. You're darn right I was scared of my own shadow. Scared me as a kid. What's wrong with you people, man? All right, so the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, does it still hold up today? Can people who have not seen it still get scared by this movie?
Absolutely. This film, and I find it funny, quick side note before we get too far into this, I've now done the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original Friday the 13th,
yes,
the original Halloween,
yes,
and now the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
He also did.
And the original Child's Play.
Yeah, let's not talk about that one anymore.
Chucky. And But yeah, it still holds up. Even things that you think are goofy and silly, like the first kill with Tina, where he's walking down the alleyway and he extends his arms, and even the guys who were doing the original puppeteering work on that thought this was going to be really goofy. It was essentially two giant puppets and the guys on top of the buildings with fishing rods and line puppeteering this thing. You thought it would look goofy, but the way that it's shot, the way that it's edited, and the way Wes Craven envisioned it, completely scary. If it's your first foray into horror and you watch this, you're going to be scared. Absolutely, you're going to be scared. And the fact that it's all practical.
Yeah, practicality is awesome.
I mean, okay, the sequence towards the end where he gets set on fire, walks up the stairs, Nancy knocks him down, he falls all the way down the stairs and comes back up the stairs. That was 100% real. That was a guy set on fire. In fact, it held the Stuntman Hall of Fame record for the longest single-take burn.
Oh, my goodness.
Until Friday the 13th, Part 7, when Kane Hodder did it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. See, this is a guy dropping some horror knowledge for you guys. Hope you appreciate that.
But yeah, the fact that it was all done practically, I love the entire thing.
Let's talk about two other elements of this film that are not only iconic, but they have definitely put their stamp on Americana in cinema. Wes Craven, you had mentioned,
Absolutely.
He directed this film, and this was definitely a catapult for him in directing for him as well.
Well, it was what broke him away from the horror. Okay, up until around this time, people who directed horror were known as horror directors. Okay. But most movies kind of looked at horror as the redheaded stepchildren.
Sure.
They aren't what they are today. Back in the 80s and 70s, he had done The Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left. Fantastic films. But you have to have an appreciation for the subgenre of horror to really understand and appreciate those kind of movies. Same thing with the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's in that gritty grindhouse kind of feel, because back then horror movies were done on a budget of about a ham sandwich.
It's true.
So to actually get money behind it, which honestly, it didn't have money. New Line Cinema was a distribution company. They didn't make movies. Bob Shaye took a chance with this. That's why New Line Cinema is affectionately known as the house that Freddie built, because it is.
Yeah.
He is the reason New Line Cinema is where it is and was able to do the Lord of the Rings films and is a contender for great studios. It didn't used to be that way. New Line Cinema originally was Bob Shaye out of the trunk of his car selling Pink Flamingos, which was an old John Waters film starring Divine.
Oh, my goodness.
That was New Line Cinema, distributing those. He bought the rights to those films so he could make copies of them and sell them out of his car. That was it. He took a gamble. He bet everything he had. He mortgaged his house, everything, on the gamble of this one little scary film to pay off.
And it paid off.
And it paid off. Ironically enough, it paid off simply because of a tag at the end that is a point of contention between Wes Craven and Bob Shaye.
And what is that?
Well, you know, at the end of the film where Heather, having vanquished Freddy, gets into the car, drives away, and you see 1, 2, Freddy's come for you, and then the mother's pulled through the window in the front, and it turns Bonnie Lee Blakely into this really crappy-looking mannequin puppet. It is. Let's be honest, that is a crappy-looking puppet. Anyway, that's what Bob Shaye wanted. Wes Craven didn't. Because he wanted it to end on an upbeat note. You defeated Freddy, you defeated the evil.
Sure.
Bob Shaye wanted the tag at the end because he had a feeling that it was going to be successful enough to warrant at least one more.
Really?
So he opened the door to the franchise, but that was a big point of contention between the two of them.
Yeah. So we talked about Freddy Krueger. We talked about Wes Craven. Let's talk about the guy who plays Freddy Krueger.
Robert Englund.
He definitely has made a living out of playing Freddy Krueger, but he's given that character life, and he probably wouldn't have been the same if it was somebody else, a different actor. Is that fair to
For
say?
a fact, it wouldn't be the same because there's actually a sequence in the second one where it's not Robert Englund.
Is that really?
Mm-hmm. When Chuck Russell came in to do the second one, Robert Englund had already felt a little bit of ownership over the character. Understandably so. He created it.
Of course.
And everything that is iconic for Freddy came out of Robert Englund. It wasn't Wes Craven who said, drop your shoulder with the hand, or the way he didn't come. It was Robert Englund who came up with all the iconic things that are Freddy.
Yeah.
He said, no, it's just a guy in a rubber mask. It's not that important. So if you watch part 2 in the shower sequence where Jesse turns into Freddy before killing Snyder the coach, it's some big blocky dude kind of walking like the Frankenstein monster. It's a stunt man.
Really?
That they put in a rubber mask. Because they were like, nobody will notice.
Yeah.
After that one daily, they were like, no, we need Robert.
Yeah.
There and it's captured for all time in cinematic history. You can watch that one sequence and realize that's not Robert Englund.
Yeah.
And it doesn't move right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. He is the embodiment of that character. Now, that's not to say Jackie Earle Haley was bad, because I discussed this in the ranking as well. Jackie Earle Haley was a victim of a bad script and bad direction.
Yeah.
I do not blame him. He did the best he could with the material he was given.
Sure.
The material he was given was just a festering pile of dog crap.
And you can't do much with that.
No,
you
polish
really
a turd,
can't.
it's still a turd.
All right, Guy, we've got to stop it there. I think it's a good place to.
Well, we're missing one other person.
Do we have to talk about Johnny Depp?
No,
Who do we miss?
Heather Langenkamp.
Do we have to talk about her?
Nancy, yes.
All right, go ahead. What is she?
You can't have Freddy without the most iconic of all of his foils, which is Nancy Thompson. From the first, third, and seventh films, it's always been her, which also kind of, it was an embracing of what originally came up with John Carpenter, because John Carpenter came up with the idea of the female surviving as opposed to being saved by a man.
Sure.
Sort of. But she survives. She still somewhat needs to be saved by Loomis. This is, she survives. She fights back. She is victorious with no one's help. That is a very unique thing in horror. Now it's a common trope, but back then, it is a very unique thing. And the fact that he wanted to have the every girl and found the every girl to play her, it is a testament to Wes Craven's vision, but more importantly, it's a testament to Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, who managed to embrace everything that was going on and really make it her own in terms of dealing with the elements that are being thrown at this character and being scared, but finding a way to overcome that fear to rise above that fear. I mean, the female empowerment that we have now is right on, but back then, that was so few and far between.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a testament to her.
All I know is this. If I was in the movie, I'd be gone like within 30 seconds. I don't even think I'd hit 30 seconds. Freddy'd be like, hey, and I'd be, whoa, and I'd just die. That'd be the end of me. It would.
Such a pudding.
We're going to move on with this horror extravaganza, and we're going to move on to a movie that came out, I think about a month or so ago. It's called The Nun. We'll check that out next right here on the Screen Team.